Coming up on After the Whistle, high school basketball playoffs continue in District 6. We'll have a look at several girls and boys basketball matchups in the area.
Plus, coverage of PIAA Northwest Regional Wrestling Tournaments. We'll have highlights on the 3A Finals.
And a look at which former Penn Staters are heading to the 2024 NFL Draft Combine. All that and more coming up on After the Whistle. Hello and welcome to After the Whistle. I'm Evan Smith.
And I'm Cor Rodriguez. Today we'll look at the Northwest Regional Wrestling results and a look around Penn State athletics.
But first, we'll start off in Mount Aloysius. It's Greater Johnstown and Central fighting for the District 6 4A title, and a familiar face is leading the charge for the Dragons. It's Eli Muthler, After the Whistle's Football Player of the Year against the reigning champion Trojans. Starting off in the second quarter, Dragons on the break, and Muthler with a circus layup, count the bucket and one. Central went up 19-17 and had the lead heading into the locker rooms.
Look at that crowd, they're electric.
Energy stays up in the second half, and here come the Trojans. Dante Teisinger drives the lane and grabs the layup and the foul. Johnston now leading 28-22 in the third. A couple possessions later, Amir Robinson sinks the three right in front of an Iceberg defenseman. Trojans now lead up to 9. Next possession, Teisinger finds Robinson again in the corner, nails another three. Johnston now up 10. The Trojans would keep that lead for the rest of the night. They go back-to-back and win the 4A championship 44-29 over Central. For Central, that low-scoring game ends their season short of a championship, ending their year 19-6. As for Greater Johnstown, they continue to roll into the state bracket as the lone District 6 representative, but this time looking to advance further than last year.
We talked about it from day one, from the first workout, so our approach will be a little bit different. And I think last year, with just being such a young group coming off of the D6, we kind of just relaxed. We never re-energized for that game, but that's all we've been talking about all offseason. We have to have a better showing in state playoffs, and we feel like we're one of the best teams, and we got a shot just like anybody else.
Durham and the Trojans now await their next opponent in the state tournament, coming out of District 4.
Now let's go over to the girls basketball for their District 6 4A championship between Juniata and Greater Johnstown. Bringing in the high fives as this championship gets underway. Starting here at the tip-off, Juniata wins, and with Haley Muma passes it off to Shaylin Armstrong, finds Miley Landis for the first two of the game. Later in the first, Muma again with a great dish down to Mariska Beward that cuts it to Lady Trojans half by 12-6. Moving it to the second half, Zayona Thomas zips it down to Nailoni Teisinger, finds Nash with a 2 and makes it 23-20 for the Lady Trojans. Teisinger kills it again with the white, who buries it mid-range jumper splash, with Lady Trojans increasing their lead. Thomas fires the timemisser 21. Can you do the sum with me? And that and one, putting it to the crowd on their feet, with the Lady Trojans increase their lead to a score of 47-30. The rest of the game went to the same as the Lady Trojans capture a win of the final score, a 52-34, making it the champions of the District 6. The Lady Trojans now advance to the state tournament, and as for the Lady Indians, they struggle to break the pressure. Now finds the season 14-9, a big key of the defense standing tall for Johnstown.
We live by this motto, like, don't worry, it's coming, and we'll keep pressing, and sometimes we'll be struggling, and teams will be getting away from us, or we'll be down, and I'm like, don't worry, it's coming, and when we get that run, and they start turning it over, we can fluster a team, and like I said, that's kind of our strong suit. We always can play some defense, even when we're struggling offense.
The Lady Trojans move on to states and currently are waiting for their next opponent out of the WPIAL District 7 brackets. Coming up, we'll have coverage on the Northwest Regional Finals for 3A Wrestling.
And we'll show you our top 3 plays of the week.
But for now, let's check out some scores around the District 6 area.
Welcome back to After the Whistle, brought to you by Com Radio, Center County Report, and Penn State's chapter of Awesome.
Now let's take a look into Saturday's 3A Northwest Wrestling Regional Finals. Over the weekend, the PIAA Northwest AAA Regional Wrestling Tournament took place, featuring a ton of wrestlers from District 6. Let's start off with the championship bout from 121 class, featuring Hickory Brody's Bishop and Central Mountain's Aiden Kunez. Now in the first period, Aiden Kunez with a blue singlet grabs 2 quick points after the takedown on Bishop. He works to get better position as he prevents an escape. Kunez leads 2-0.
Those hands are locked.
Now in the second period, Kunez continues to dominate with another takedown despite the resistance from Bishop. Kunez leads 6-0. Third period, Bishop with a 6-0 hole grabs a point after stalling call on Kunez, still leading 6-1. Final 10's last 10 seconds, effort isn't enough for Bishop. Kunez wins the 121-pound Bishop championship by decision. Central Mountain Aiden Kunez is your winner after defeating Hickory Brody's Bishop 6-1.
Go on to the 133-pound class where State College's James Whitbread faced off against Puxatawny's Jordan Rosen. Whitbread in the orange there. Midway through the first period, Whitbread pounces on Rutten for the 2-point takedown. He would lead 2-1 at the end of the first. Starting off the second, Whitbread with the reversal from the bottom position. That's 2 points. He's now up 4-1.
Look at him whipping him around.
Final period is Whitbread leads 4-2, and he dominates this entire round, caps it off with a 3-point near fall. Whitbread would win the match after a dominant performance. Whitbread's 9-3 victory gives him the regional championship in the 133-pound division.
You know, both of these matchups were very, very good.
Yep, Pennsylvania is known for its wrestling competition, and they're showing out so far.
Now let's go to the 145-pound class where State College #1 ranked Pearson Manville squares off against #6 Luciff Simcox from Central Mountain. Simcox is in the blue and Manville is in the gray singlet. Scoreless first period, so we pick up in the second. Manville is trying to take down Simcox, but he escapes to grab the point. Simcox leads 1-0 at the end of the second. Third period, Manville needs a point to stay alive, and he heads into his he'll get it after an escape, tied 1-1 at the end of the third, so we'll get an extra period. No score in that extra period. Now it's tied 2-2 after 2 30-second tiebreaker. Final right-out round. Simcox escapes again after he gets the victory over Manville. I mean, look at him celebrating.
After triple overtime, why not?
Luke Simcox is the winner for the 145-pound weight class after his 3-2 upset over Pearson Manville.
On to 152-pound weight class, where Altoona's #1 Luke Sipes took the mat against #6 Griffin Wallander. The first 2 periods ended in a scoreless tie at this bout, and they're locked into a stalemate until Sipes records an escape and a takedown in the final 2 minutes. The Princeton commit went on to win 3-0 and take home the 3A 152-pound championship title for the 3rd straight year. Sipes will move on to the state tournament, where he finished 7th in the 2022-2023 season. Now jumping over to the second half of the tournament, let's take a look at the 160-pound bout. It's Deacon Schaefer from Mifflin County versus State College's Asher Cunningham. 10 seconds in is all it took for Cunningham to pull Schaefer down for the early lead. In the second, Cunningham kicks out Schaefer's leg and takes him down once again, but Schaefer steps out of this one for an escape. Later, Cunningham has another takedown, sending him all the way across the mat to extend his lead. At the beginning of the third, Cunningham got the final takedown and completed the tech fall. Cunningham's wins the championship with an absurd final score of 27-11.
Wow.
Cunningham now moves on to the state championships, where he looks to better his 4th place finish from a year ago.
Now let's go to the 172-pound round. It is Shikellami's Connor Wenzel versus Avery Arand of Mifflin County. Midway through the first round, Arand goes for the legs, but Wenzel makes him instantly regret that, spinning him around and eventually getting the takedown.
Counter.
Now in the second, Arand trues to the escape and gets denied by Wenzel. Later, Wenzel would bring out the leg move, fakes it, and secures 2 more points. Wenzel would go on to win the round 9-1 in the major decision. He will move on and compete in states for the first time in his high school career.
Taking it over to 215, it was Central Mountain's Rocco Serafini going head-to-head with Shikellami's Brody Rebuck in a vigorous match that went all the way to the very end, but was not shy of any action and some warning calls even. In the second period, we see Serafini get hit with not 1, but 2 straight warning calls, with Shikellami's Rebuck getting his own just a few minutes later at the start of the third period. The standstill of a match forced them to get creative with some quick moves here towards the finish, and Serafini would take control, repeatedly throwing Rebuck around on the map in an effort to score some extra points. Eventually, the two would make it to the end, with Serafini winning by decision with a score of 1-0, earning him his first AAA title. Serafini sits at a 38-6 record this season as he looks towards the state championships in Hershey.
Finishing off with the big boys at 285, State High's Nicholas Pavlechko asserts his dominance in the weight class, pinning Harrisburg's Wyatt Maines in 59 seconds. At the minute 42 seconds, Pavlechko takes down Maines, who escapes but is saved by the ref before Pavlechko continues his dominant performance.
Early whistle there.
And the ref would not be able to save him again from Pavlechko. Gets Maines back on the floor and into an arm lock before eventually rolling him over and getting the pin for the win for his third consecutive AAA title.
Big 10 power there.
With the final score of 6-2, Pavlechko, who committed to Indiana in August, looks to finally take home the state title after coming in second last year and third the year before. After the break, we'll show you highlights of Penn State women's basketball return to Rec Hall, as well as men's basketball win against Indiana.
We'll also look ahead to Penn State's football players competing in the NFL Draft Combine.
But for now, let's check out some Penn State teams that are playing for the rest of the week. We're back on After the Whistle to bring you Penn State women's and men's basketball, as well as Penn Staters heading to the NFL Combine.
Don't forget our top 3 plays of the week coming up, but first, we'll take you to Penn State women's basketball, taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the return to Rec Hall game. The Penn State Lady Lions turned back to their old home for the first time since 1996, setting up shop in Rec Hall Thursday night. The Lady Lions warming up as they prepare to try and break their losing streak against number 2 Ohio State. The Buckeyes with the first possession of the game. JC Sheldon gives the ball to Celeste Taylor from the corner, who swishes the three-pointer. Ohio State up by 3 early. Penn State tries to inbound right after, but Cody McMahon steals the ball and finds Sheldon in the corner for yet another 3. Ohio State up 13-0. Leilani Kapanis gets the steal and goes coast to coast to put Penn State on the board.
Wow, that was impressive.
Cuts the lead to 13-2. Jumping forward 5:30 in the third quarter. Ricky Harris on the baseline kicks it out to Taylor for yet another 3. Ohio State up 55-34. Now with under 20 seconds to go, Penn State's still playing to the final whistle. Mariah Murray hits a 3-pointer, and Ohio State leads 80-63.
I mean, look at that Lady Lion go.
The Buckeyes went on to win 82-69. They improved to 23-3 with the win and went on for another win against Maryland on Sunday. As for the Lady Lions, that was their 6th consecutive loss. They'll play Purdue tonight in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Penn State is back at the Bryce Jordan Center for the first time since their return to Rec, upset against number 12 Illinois. The Nittany Lions hosted the Indiana Hoosiers in the Coaches versus Cancer game. About 14 minutes left in the first half, Malik Renault finds CJ Gunn down low, who lays it in for Indiana, taking 8-7 lead. 3.5 minutes left in the second half now. Indiana leads 32-29. Nick Kerr Jr. finds Pup Johnson.
Wide open.
Pulls it in for a 3-pointer, tying it 32-32. 3 more minutes gone in the second half now. DeMarco Dunn to Ace Baldwin Jr. forces a steal, and Dunn takes it on the other side for Penn State, 47-35.
They got to press charges for that robbery.
12 minutes left of the game. Renault hands the ball off to Trey Galloway that drives it in for the bucket, 52-49 Indiana. Now for 7 minutes later, Penn State rebuilding their lead. Baldwin drives, misses, but Qudus Wahab in for the back of the play reviewed it and counted it for the Penn State Nittany Lions, went ahead by 10. The Nittany Lions would go on to win 83-74.
They've been on fire since turning the calendar to 2024.
I completely agree with that. And Penn State would improve to 14-14 on the season and play against Iowa last night, resulting in a loss. Indiana fell 14-13 with a loss and played Wisconsin last night, coming out victorious. The 2024 NFL Combine kicks off on Thursday and runs through the weekend with 10 former Penn Staters taking part. Among the Nittany Lions' offensive stars are offensive tackles Alou Fashanu, Caden Wallens, and center Hunter Norzat, and tight end Theo Johnson. Onto the defensive side, our edge rushers Chop Robinson and Adizak Isaac. In the linebacker group is Curtis Jacobs, and topping off the class are 3 of the blue and white starting cornerbacks, Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, and Daquan Hardy.
Hardy missed some time this year, but he's got some speed. He could be a real sleeper in the draft.
This is the next stop on the path to the NFL draft for these 10 former Penn State Nittany Lions.
It's been another crazy week across District 6 basketball and wrestling, so we compiled our top 3 plays of the week. Kicking off and last is Zayona Thomas pulling up from long range and knocking down the 3. Her 3 pushed the Lady Trojans to capture the District 6 championship.
Heading over to number 2, Bovlechko gets mains on the floor and onto an arm lock before eventually rolling him over and getting the pin for the win. His dominance on the mat awarding him his 3rd consecutive AAA title.
And our best play of the week comes in the form of a turnover transition and Eli Muthler spinning through 2 defenders, throwing up a prayer and getting it answered as he heads to the line to make a 3-point play.
You know, I'm really excited for all of the high school spring sports starting up and also the continuation of Penn State sports.
Yeah, and even secondly a Werner sport, but Penn State basketball, they've been on a roll since the calendar switched over. They might make the NIT, which just a couple of weeks ago seemed to be an impossibility.
I mean, I completely agree.
That's all for this week's edition of After the Whistle. Tune in after spring break for more coverage of District 6 and Penn State sports. I'm Evan Smith.
And I'm Cora Rodriguez. For more updates about our show and our coverage of games, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATWPSU. And we'll see you in 3 weeks here on After the Whistle.